What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dirtnation Offroad. So today what we have for you is a brand new series. Now, we've had the glorious, wonderful Toyota Tacoma for about 3 years now, going on 2.5 years. And in that time, we've learned a lot about this truck, whether that's off-roading, daily driving, maintenance, goods, bads, all that stuff. And I want to take an opportunity to share that knowledge with our audience. So what we're doing is starting a brand new series, and we're going to be calling it Mastering the Tacoma. In these videos, I want to cover all aspects of owning and wheeling a Toyota Tacoma, and we'll cover a wide range of topics, including reviews, installations, truck features, owner reviews, a variety of different topics, as I said. Although this will be covering my Toyota Tacoma, this information is going to be useful for any off-road vehicle, so just keep that in mind. And even better than that, if you're a Tacoma hater, go ahead and watch these videos and send them all your Toyota buddies, because when I have my criticisms of this vehicle, you guys are going to want to see that, because every vehicle, no matter how good it is, has some bad stuff. Don't kid yourself. Anyhow, the first topic that we're going to be covering for Mastering the Tacoma is dun, 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 sway bars. Now, sway bars, or to be more technical, anti-sway bars, are exactly what they're called. They're bars which limit sway of your vehicle, usually running across the frame and connecting at some point on the suspension. In the case of the Tacoma, they go right through the spindles and then they're bolted on and then bolted onto the frame itself. Most vehicles will have them in the front. Others will have them in the front and the rear. If you're seeing it in front and rear, it's usually more of an SUV or a car. Trucks are usually just have them in the front. In the case of the Tacoma, it only has a sway bar in the front. But you often see them also on track vehicles because it helps them tighten up the suspension to like improve handling and whatnot. George can talk about that stuff because he's the track guy. I'm the rock crawler. I guess he's a rock crawler too, huh? Comment below. Anyways, the reason that sway bars are important for off-roading is they improve articulation when they're removed. Now, car manufacturers know this. For example, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, whatever you want to call them. On the Wrangler Rubicon and the Ram Power Wagon, they come with the electronic disconnecting sway bars, which is a pretty cool feature if you ask me. You don't have to wrench anything, you don't do anything. You press a button and your sway bar disconnects, and now you can flex a lot more than normal. And then when you're ready to put it back on, you can put it back on and improve your handling. Now, for the Tacoma, there's only one sway bar. It's in the front and it's fairly easy to remove. It's 4 bolts near the frame on the front, and then you may have to take your skid plate off. It just depends on what skid plate you have. I have an aftermarket one. I have to take it off or jiggle it through there, the sway bar to get it out. It's better to just take it off. And then there's 2 sway bar links going through the spindles with a 17mm nut on the end. So it's not that hard to take off, but at the same time it can be a little tedious, but it's pretty easy. Once you take it off, you're good. I took my sway bar off about a month ago, and I've gone wheeling a few times since, and to keep it simple, removing the sway bar off a Toyota Tacoma is like a real life cheat code for flex. I didn't know that independent suspension could flex so well, especially on budget suspension. You guys got to realize this is Frankenstein suspension. I have parts from, you name a manufacturer of suspension parts, I probably have them underneath this truck. And this thing flexes. This extra articulation is a double-edged sword though. On one hand, off-road performance is better because I'm getting more articulation, I'm taking harder lines, and I'm flexing through stuff, and I'm not lifting a tire as often as I would before, and it does ride smoother, but the flexing causes some issues. First of all, I rub a lot more in the front now. Even after I lifted it and did everything like that, the body chop, everything I needed to do, it still rubs a lot. And it rubs on the top part of the inner fender to where you can see all the sections where it's rubbing continuously. Every time I, tuck it right in there, the sway bar doesn't prevent it from getting up in there anymore. So it's mangling up the fenders on the inside. It is what it is. Now, the extra flex does cause a lot of suspension components to get way more wear and tear, especially your ball joints and your CV axles. Not to mention the down travel, making it very possible to rip a brake line. Now, this happened to George recently at one of our Cleghorn runs. He was flexing way too much and he ended up snapping off a brake line. Now, it's a different suspension setup, but the rule still applies. He didn't have a sway bar, flexes a lot more, ripped the brake line. And lastly, the most important part of taking your sway bar off, or at least in terms of a negative, is safety. You are so much more likely to roll your vehicle. Pretty much any emergency maneuver guarantees you're going to put your vehicle on its side, unless you're really wide body and you have like the type of suspension that can hold it up. But this vehicle sways This bar is it's meant to prevent sway, so you're going to sway more without it. Now, getting into daily driving without a sway bar, it's an interesting experience, I'll say. The best way that I can explain it, it's much like driving a boat, or if your suspension wasn't suspension anymore, but it was a camera gimbal. It's kind of just all weird and wobbly, but oddly satisfying. You're going to feel like you're going to roll the vehicle at every single turn. You turn right, the vehicle tips left. If you turn left, the vehicle tips right. It's, like I said, it's odd, and it gives you anxiety, but it's satisfying at the same time because it is a comfortable ride. And also, with time, you start to get used to it. And also, when you're driving through the mountains or if you're on the highway, you get even more anxious because when you change lanes on the highway, you feel a little bit tipsy, but eventually you start to get used to it. I'm at a point right now where I don't even notice it unless I take a turn really sharp, but at that point, I already have the muscle memory of driving without a sway bar, so I'm already used to it. It's not that bad. You, Leaf. All in all, there is a trade-off for sway bar removal. On one hand, you're going to have a better ride off-road, but on the second hand, you're going to have a more dangerous one. Is it worth it? It's hard to say. If you're somebody who primarily drives your vehicle off-road, then yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to take your sway bar off. But if you're somebody that daily drives your vehicle and then weekend warriors your vehicle on the weekends, that's a decision you got to make for yourself. An option is to take off your sway bar at each trailhead. Now that's something that one of our guys, Mel, does with his XJ. He'll show up to the trail, take off his sway bar, and then run the trail, and then throw the sway bar back on. On the Tacomas, you can do that. For me, that's not going to be what I'm going to be doing unless I can find something that's like a quick disconnect for the Tacoma. Now I've looked online. I haven't found anything. If you guys know of any, quick disconnect sway bar things for the Toyota Tacoma, link it below. And I'll definitely put that in our video description and update it so that you guys can see it. But my point is, when it comes to sway bar removal, the trade-off between better off-road performance and safety, you have to make that decision. The decision that I'm making is I'm going to leave the sway bar off for now because I drive the truck more off-road than I do on the street at this point. Plus I have the 35s on. I don't like daily driving the truck anymore because of miles per gallon. But you got to make that decision for yourself. I'm just giving you the information. That is it for sway bar removal on the Toyota Tacoma. For the most part, like I said, I'll be leaving my sway bar off unless we have another trail where we do something like Baja, pre-running, high speed, where I'm gonna need to corner and do stuff like that. Or if I get better suspension to where I can still have some flex with the sway bar on. We'll see for the future, but with how I run the truck right now and what I'm doing with it, we'll be leaving the sway bar off. But that's it for the very first Mastering the Tacoma video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'd love your feedback on some topics that we can cover down in the future, so definitely shoot us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. But other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. You can also hit us up for shirts at dirtnationoffroad@gmail.com. But other than that, thank you guys. We'll see you again next time.